We're here today with our exhibition, Move to Act, Demonstration, Marches, and Political Actions. It was curated by Ellen Feldman and Marky Kaufman, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity to actually hang it as a physical exhibition and put it together in this time as we're coming up on the next presidential election. It's an opportunity to look back at some of the important events over the past 3.5 years. Photographically, it's a very interesting presentation. The exhibition brings together 41 photographers from around the country, and it covers the more documentary approach to photography, which is something we've been trying to put on the schedule here for a long time.
I believe in the power of photography, and I think that this show, at this time where so many things are going wrong and there are so many protests in the United States, this show is my way of expressing the power of still photography. This picture, for instance, by Evan Whitney from a pro-immigration rally, it's like one of those Eddie Adams or Nick Ut photographs. It's a moment, a frozen moment in time where you just understand how angry this woman is, but how powerful her voice is.
This time is unique in our history, even more so than 1968, than other times when we have had massive protests in this country, because now we have a synergy of so many movements, so many protests, that we actually had so much choice. And you will see around this exhibit that we have marches like March for Our Lives, the Women's March of 2017, March for Science. And this is the time when really we have to not be afraid. We have to stand up for what we need and what we want right now. We have to fight for our rights. We have to be active. And I think that the thing that's great about this exhibit is that it is a call to action.
I came of age in the late 60s. I was a senior in high school in 1970 when the National Guard, the Ohio National Guard, shot 4 students at Kent State University. That was the day that I think I became an activist. I left school with my classmates. We walked out of school on May 5th and went to my first protest in Washington Park in Albany, New York. When I got to college, I became a feminist, and I became a feminist activist, trying to change everybody I knew and turn them into feminists.
I was raised in Philadelphia in a family of activists. Since a very young age, I was politically aware. My sister and I both attended protests. My sister was in the Peace Corps. I was in the Teacher Corps. I also went to Columbia, Barnard College of Columbia University from 1965 to 69, and I was caught up in all the actions there, which at the time, I have to say, we thought of as revolutionary actions. We were counting on major actions around the country. And of course, that was the time of the Vietnam War. It was also the time of civil rights, women's rights, Native American rights, and it was an explosive time. But I'm not sure that it was as explosive as this time now. We're in a unique moment where we are, it seems, a grand and great community of activists, and we have recorded what we couldn't have done in '68, was recorded so many images of protests.
The Vietnam War, the photographs from the Vietnam War are seared into my brain. Eddie Adams, the photographer that took the photograph of the assassination of a Viet Cong official by the chief of police in South Vietnam, that image of that murder is seared into my brain. And one of the things that Eddie Adams said is that the still photograph is one of the most powerful weapons in the world. I really believe that's true. I believe in the power of still photography. There were two camera people, filmmakers at that assassination, one from ABC, one from NBC, but nobody remembers that footage. They just remember that one still photograph. The girl who rips off her clothing and is running down the street naked because the United States Army napalmed aerially her neighborhood, and she got sprayed with napalm and had to rip her clothing off because she was so badly burning. That still image also is one of those that sticks in your mind, sears in your mind.
One of the actions that I participated in when I was a college student was in April of 1968, students occupied various buildings of Columbia University. We did it for several reasons. We did it because Columbia was going to be building a gym in an African American neighborhood, thus moving Black people out of their homes, and we were protesting that. We were also, of course, protesting the Vietnam War, and we were also protesting Columbia's involvement in research, industrial research and military research. If I could only have some of photos of that time, how that could move me still to remember that such an important time in my life and in the life of the baby boomer generations, that it would be fabulous. I was an occupant for 5 or 6 days in the President's Library of Columbia University. I think there were 2 photos that were taken of that sit-in for over 5 or 6 days. We did not have cell phones. We did not have cameras. All we could do was run out to get a New York Times, which we knew was full of lies about us. But we do not have any real memorial to that time, photographically. And that, I think, is a real shame. So it's important that we do remember when we can and record the important protests of our time. We can use these images as a call to action, as a community coming together.
This image by Gabriella and Gotti Jones is another one of those frozen moment photographs that just sears in your mind. This one is a pro-Trump rally where a young white male is beating up one of the anti-Trump protesters. Anu Palakunathu Matthew made this amazing image that is another one that just sears in your head. It's this expression on this little girl's face of the joy of being female. And she says, "I'm a girl, girls are strong." This is just one of those amazing frozen moments in time, still photographs that you remember. This one by Nicole Buchanan, it's called Unarmed. And it's an African-American man being pushed down onto the pavement by the police with a lot of bystanders watching this violence against this Black person. Another one of those moments in time that is still photographed. Sears in your head. This image, there's a couple of images by Gabriella Dumzik. Gabriella Dumzik is this amazing American woman photographer. But this is Emma Gonzalez at March for Our Lives demonstration in Washington, D.C. She's got tears running down her face. And again, it's one of those searing moments that all of America saw during that March for Our Lives protest. She was so incredible. And this moment where her friends are grasping her hand and the tears are coming down her face. Again, one of those amazing still photographs. And also by Gabriella Dumzik, this Mecca Verde image from Baltimore Sings the Blues, Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, the anguish on this woman's face, you can't but feel her pain. Again, one of those amazing moments. Recently, I listened to a photographer named Burroughs Lamar, and he photographed the recent Black Lives Matter protests. In the talk, he said, I think all of the photographs from this summer's Black Lives Matter protests have made people go out on the street. The people see those still photographs and it makes them get off the couch and go protest. The power of the still image is what this show is about for me.
What we want to do in all these marches is counteract fear and project power, strength, and activism. We are coming upon an election now, and not only, I have to say, is it important to protest, it is also important to do the most important action that we can do in a democracy, which is to vote and to work for candidates who are running and to whom we agree with. That's partly why we have this exhibit going on right now in the lead up to the November 3rd election. We want to make sure that we hit as many people as we can in as many ways as we can, and this exhibit is one way that we can affect change, that we can inspire people to tell all their friends to vote, to write letters, to participate in phoning campaigns, and to donate money to their candidates of choice. It's, as I said before, this is an action.
This is one of the more important exhibitions that we've mounted, and we timed it to coincide with the upcoming election as a chance to provide a reminder to people of a lot of the actions and disputes happening in our country and give people a chance to reflect on them. News comes at us 24/7 in a lot of different formats, and it's rare that you have the opportunity to step back and revisit an event. And one of the powers of still photography is that ability to freeze a moment to be reviewed later. And that's what this exhibition attempted to do. It brought together 41 photographers from around the country who visited or participated in a number of marches and political actions across the country with an eye towards documenting it and preserving it for the future.